Do you know what is fascinating about people who overthink? It is not that their minds are broken, it is that their brains often operate at a level that most people cannot even begin to grasp. In this video, we will explore the hidden psychology behind your overthinking, and we will touch upon its causes. No, there is no bullshit information or your life will never be the same nonsense. I am tired of AI content too, you can be sure of that. So, let's begin. 1. Anatomy of an overthinking mind. If you are an overthinker, I'm sure people have told you before to stop thinking so much, as if it were that easy, as if you could just find the off switch for a mind that works like a supercomputer, processing millions of different scenarios at the same time. But the truth is, what you are experiencing is not just thinking a lot. Psychology has a special name for this pattern, rumination, meaning mental chewing of the cud. This word comes from the way a cow brings its food back to its mouth and digests it by chewing it over and over again. This is a powerful image because that is exactly what an overthinking mind does. It takes a thought, a worry, or a memory and continues to bring it back constantly, breaking it into pieces from every angle. The problem is, unlike the cow, no nutrients remain for you. What remains for you is pure exhaustion. Something is constantly running in the head, but the return to you is zero. Only tiredness. Now this is where it gets interesting. Psychologists divide this into two types. The first is brooding rumination. This is what causes all the pain. It is a passive and judgmental loop where you are stuck on the problem. You replay past mistakes, dwell on what went wrong, and ask questions like, why does this always happen to me? This is the form of overthinking that paralyzes you, drains your energy, and makes you feel completely trapped. However, there is another side to the coin, reflective rumination. This is a more active and curious form of deep thinking. Instead of just focusing on the problem, you start exploring solutions. You ask, what can I learn from this? Or, how can I handle this differently next time? This style of thinking is actually the link to better problem-solving skills, and believe it or not, higher emotional intelligence. The real challenge is that for an overthinker, these two styles are usually intertwined. Your mind begins with a desire for true understanding, but without even realizing it, you slip from active contemplation into the dark spiral of gloom. Understanding this distinction is the first step to getting back in the driver's seat. It is not about stopping thinking, but learning how to direct it. First of all, analyze yourself on this matter. Discover which group you are in. 2. Why does your brain get stuck in a loop? The answer is hidden in our neurobiology, specifically in a brain network called the default mode network. Think of this thing as your brain's screensaver mode. It kicks in when you are not focused on a specific task. It is the side of you that daydreams and thinks about the past and the future. In most people, this is a beneficial background process. However, in overthinkers, the subgenual prefrontal cortex, a region responsible for processing emotions, can, so to speak, hijack this thing. Imagine your computer is running a routine background scan, but a faulty program causes it to scan the same corrupted file again and again and again. This situation consumes all the processing power, slows down everything else, and cannot break the loop. This is your brain. The emotional center puts the self-reflection network into overload, locking it into a negative loop that seems impossible to escape. Your brain thinks it is being productive. It thinks it is protecting you by analyzing every threat and rehearsing every negative outcome. But this is a trap. This belief is what feeds the loop by rewarding the thinking process without ever demanding a solution. This is also what keeps you awake all night, convincing you that if you analyze that awkward conversation one more time, you will finally decode its hidden meaning. The loop is only broken when we realize that more thinking is not the answer. The answer is a different way of thinking. 3. The surprising connection to your greatest strengths. Now let's come to the paradox at the heart of overthinking. That mental engine that leaves you exhausted is also the source of some of your deepest strengths. While you are busy seeing your overthinking as a flaw, you might have ignored how deeply it is connected to high emotional intelligence, empathy, and the extraordinary ability to see things that others overlook. Your brain, along with its tendency to analyze and reanalyze, is a powerful pattern recognition machine. You don't just accept things as they appear. When someone speaks, you don't just hear their words, you process their tone of voice, their micro-expressions, their pauses, and everything they don't say. You notice those subtle shifts in a room that nobody else notices. You sense a friend's needs before they even say anything. This is not a software bug, it's a feature. This is what makes you an incredibly perceptive friend, a thoughtful partner, and a kind colleague. You are the person who remembers the small details, who checks in on someone when they seem off, and who can give advice that is deeply tuned to the nuances of a situation. This heightened awareness is the cornerstone of emotional intelligence. This is your brain's effort to understand the world at a deeper, more meaningful level. That sensitivity you sometimes curse is the very thing that allows you to connect with others in a way that many other people never can. 4. The double-edged sword of empathy. Having a superpower does not mean it is easy to control. The same sensitivity that allows you to form such deep connections can also lead to emotional overload, referred to as hyper-empathy or empathy absorption. This is the point where you don't just understand someone's emotions, but you start to feel them as if they were your own. Your friend's anxiety becomes your anxiety. Your partner's bad day ruins your day. You absorb the emotional atmosphere in a room so strongly that you end up carrying everyone's tension, stress, and sadness in your own body. This is the hidden cost of your talent, and it leads to deep emotional exhaustion. This emotional leakage is what makes overthinking so draining. Your brain doesn't just spin around your own problems, it spins around the problems of everyone you care about. Without boundaries, your greatest strength can turn into a heavy burden which can push you to withdraw, not because you don't care, but on the contrary, because you care too much. 5. Transforming your relationship with your thoughts. So how do you use this double-edged sword without hurting yourself? The solution is not to stop overthinking. Here are 4 practical ways to start. First, notice and label. The moment you feel that familiar spiral beginning, simply acknowledge it without judgment. Say to yourself, "This is rumination," or "I am in a pessimistic loop right now." This simple act of labeling creates a small space between you and the thought. This is the first step in taking your power back. Second, question and reframe. When you notice the loop, question it gently. Overthinking loves cognitive distortions. Ask yourself, what is the actual evidence for this fear? Or, what could be a more realistic outcome? Then consciously shift from brooding to reflection. Instead of, why am I acting so weird? Ask, what is one thing I can do to feel more confident next time? This transforms you into an active problem solver. Third, practice cognitive diffusion. This is a powerful mindfulness technique. Instead of fighting your thoughts, you learn to see them for what they are. Just words and images passing through your mind. Imagine yourself sitting on a riverbank. Each thought is a leaf floating by. Your job is not to jump into the river and catch the leaves, but simply to watch them float past. Some are dark, some are light. You just observe them without getting swept away. This teaches your brain that thoughts do not always require a reaction. Fourth, and most importantly, practice self-compassion. Overthinkers are usually their own harshest critics. The voice in your head is probably much more ruthless toward you than anyone else. The antidote to this is self-compassion. When you catch yourself in a cycle of self-criticism, ask, what would I say to a friend who feels this way? You would likely offer them kindness and reassurance. Now try showing that same kindness to yourself. Self-compassion is not a luxury. It is the essential component that soothes a restless nervous system and ultimately breaks the loop. Your mind is not broken. It is a deep, complex, and powerful instrument. The challenge is not to silence it, but to learn how to manage it. By noticing your patterns, reframing your questions, and being kind to yourself, you can turn down the volume of brooding and turn up the music of reflection. You can transform your greatest source of exhaustion into your deepest strength. If what has been told here resonated with you, share your own experiences regarding overthinking in the comments below. And if you enjoy learning the real psychology behind how you think and feel, subscribe for more content that will help you understand your own mind. Thanks for watching.